history is an artifact, written with the ink of victors and bound by the biases of time. For 2 millennia, one woman has been preserved in the global consciousness as a tragic femme fatale. A queen who lost an empire for love, only to die by the fangs of an asp. But if we peel back the layers of Hollywood's silk and Roman propaganda, the data suggests a different person entirely. While we have been conditioned to focus on her beauty, contemporary records and archaeological evidence point toward her intellect. She was a master of geopolitics who held the Roman supply chain hostage. She was a cold-blooded CEO who inherited a bankrupt kingdom and rebuilt its capital to influence the entire Roman economy. Today, we deconstruct the reality of the largest corporate merger in human history, the Egypt-Rome M&A. This is not a tale of romance. This is a record of a strategic genius who leveraged every asset, including her own life, in a final, desperate gamble for survival. The story begins not with overflowing gold, but with an empty treasury. When an 18-year-old Cleopatra, the 7th Philopater, ascended the throne in 51 BC, she did not inherit a glamorous crown. She inherited a nation on the brink of fiscal collapse. Her predecessors had bled the state dry, paying astronomical bribes to Roman officials to maintain a fragile independence. Her first move was a calculated economic strike. Immediately upon taking power, she initiated a sophisticated monetary reform. She aggressively devalued the Egyptian currency, reducing the silver content of the tetradrachm from 90% to a mere 30%. This was a deliberate attempt to increase export competitiveness and secure physical silver for the royal treasury. While this reform stabilized the macroeconomy, it alienated the conservative elite. Within 3 years, she was ousted by her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, and driven into the Syrian desert. But she did not retreat. She understood a fundamental data point. She lacked military divisions, but she possessed an asset Rome could not refuse: the wheat of the Nile, the only thing standing between the Roman citizens and starvation. When Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, he wasn't looking for a queen. He was looking for a creditor. He needed massive amounts of capital and grain to sustain his legions and solidify his power in Rome. The famous legend of Cleopatra being smuggled inside a carpet was not a desperate romantic gesture. It was a high-stakes business pitch. Cleopatra offered Caesar the immense agricultural output and the deep coffers of Egypt. In exchange, she demanded the Roman military might required to reclaim her throne. It was the most efficient merger in antiquity. Rome gained a stable supply chain. Egypt gained a security guarantee. By bearing Caesar's son, Caesarion, she fused this contract with blood. Egypt was no longer just a client state. It was a primary partner, holding the very heart of Rome in its hands. However, on the Ides of March 44 BC, the assassination of Caesar threatened to liquidate every strategic asset she had built. Following Caesar's death, the Roman world was split between Octavian and Mark Antony. Cleopatra faced a new binary choice. Her data favored Antony, the man who controlled the Eastern Mediterranean. When she met Antony at Tarsus, the legendary opulence she displayed was not mere vanity. It was a visual demonstration of Egypt's overwhelming capital, a psychological display of liquidity. She spoke 9 languages fluently, allowing her to dominate Antony intellectually. She negotiated directly with foreign emissaries, bypassing the informational distortion of interpreters. Antony became captivated not just by the woman, but by the machine she controlled. Egyptian capital became the engine for Antony's military ambitions. During this era, Cleopatra used the Roman system to reclaim lost Egyptian territories, effectively expanding her kingdom under the guise of an alliance. But this aggressive expansion triggered the alarm of Rome's most dangerous strategist, Octavian. Octavian did not start his attack with steel. He started it with words. He branded Cleopatra as a foreign sorceress who had emasculated a Roman hero. This was the world's first global propaganda campaign. The defeat at the Battle of Actium was less a military failure and more a result of political isolation. Antony's forces were demoralized by Octavian's psychological warfare, leading to a total collapse of morale. During her final days in Alexandria, Cleopatra remained disturbingly analytical. She experimented with various toxins to determine the exact lethal dosage for a human body. She knew that if Octavian won, she would be paraded through the streets of Rome as a trophy. Her death was her final asset, the only thing that could preserve the dignity of her legacy and the potential safety of her children. In August of 30 BC, the era of the pharaohs ended. But her death was not a simple conclusion. The data reveals a startling truth. Immediately after her death, the influx of Egyptian gold into Rome caused interest rates to plummet from 12% to 4%. This massive surge in liquidity fueled the explosive growth of the Roman economy, providing the actual fiscal foundation for what we now call the Pax Romana. Octavian, the victor, wrote her off as a failed seductress, but the numbers prove she was the last CEO of the Nile, a ruler whose resources fueled an empire for centuries after her pulse stopped. She did not die for love. She was a solitary gambler who threw every card she held. Intelligence, capital, language, and finally, her own breath to ensure the survival of her kingdom. When the world tries to define you as a monster or a myth, what would you sacrifice to protect your legacy? 2,000 years later, her answer still resonates. Thank you for watching Lore Atlas. Until the next story.